Hey, and welcome to Leadershipisation, all things leadership. My name is Beth Bergen, and I'm a global leadership and communication coach. My jam is to build influential leaders, and I do this by working with executives and managers and business owners, and I help them to build their influence through powerful leadership and communication so that what they can do is lead their teams, so lead a really cohesive and a diverse team, but also drive those results and become more visible, not only in their organization, but also in the industry that they work in. I am here most Tuesdays live at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I wonder I wonder if you have ever met someone who thinks that they're just being confident and actually they come across to you as being really arrogant. Have you ever met anyone like that? I certainly have, because there's actually this really fine line between confidence and arrogance. And your body language, your words, and your tone of voice all contribute to what people see. What we know is that confidence builds trust, while arrogance tends to make us want to step away from it. So, today in our session, what we're going to do is we're going to break this down so that we can look at what is that difference between confidence and arrogance. We want to make sure that your confidence is landing for you as a strength rather than as arrogance, where it might be sabotaging you. Now, before we start, a reminder, communication is all about, has three main components. Our body language, which sends 55% of the message. 55% of the message. Our voice, which sends 38% of a message, and our words, which is 7% of the message. Now, for many people, when they first hear that, they go, really? That can't be right. That's what it is. So, what we're going to do today is to examine confidence and arrogance through a little bit of that lens of body language, voice, or tone of voice, and the words that you're choosing. Let's look first at what is confidence. What is confidence? It's the self awareness, it's a reality. And in that self awareness, there's generally an understanding of our own limitations as an individual. And perhaps in that confidence, there's a real willingness to learn and to grow, to understand that while I've got really good self belief, I also have some humility and I also have an awareness that there is much left that I can be learning. That's confidence, that good, solid self belief. Arrogance, on the other hand, can come across as really being, I'm better than others, I'm superior, I'm self important. And someone who is arrogant can often be quite unwilling to ask for assistance. They're reluctant to ask for help from someone. The interesting thing is that while someone who's arrogant can be quite dismissive of others because of that superiority that they often appear to have, this can this can not only can it be driven by the ego, but it can also be a really awesome mask that someone is using. I shouldn't use the word awesome in that context. It can be a really deliberate mask that someone is using to cover up for their own insecurities. So if you come across someone who is appearing to be arrogant, it can be worth digging a little bit deeper just to see what's going on. When we think about things like collaboration, um, it's more likely a confident person is more likely to encourage collaboration because they're more grounded. They're more likely to celebrate others. They're more likely to speak and share things with great clarity. And because they've got a high level of self-efficacy, they're going to have a positive impact on others. People enjoy being around a confident person. Whereas someone who is arrogant, less likely to be collaborating because they're less approachable. They're more ego driven. They're more controlling. Um, they can be a potential liability because they don't want to build those relationships. They don't want anybody to get too close because they not encouraging you to build those relationships. They're dismissive in terms of not needing other people. And so often what happens is that when an arrogant person is managing or leading a team, there's not a lot of confiding that goes on. That if people don't come and confide in an arrogant person because they simply don't trust them enough. They don't know what's going to happen with that information. Yeah. So there are a few little overviews of the differences. So now let's look at it through that lens of body language. And as I said to you, this is 55% of the way that your message is sent is through your body language. So your confident person is often open. They're standing up tall, shoulders back, chest out, hands are open, they're welcoming, they're upright, they've got that open posture, and yet at the same time, they're relaxed and they're maintaining the eye contact. All of those things that give you clear messages that people are interested, that they want to engage with you. That's what comes with the confidence. Whereas your arrogant person may well be much more closed. They might be standing with their arms folded. They might be looking at you down their nose. We often talk about people, well, they were looking down their nose at me, and that's because they're lifting their chin and then it appears they're looking down their nose. Generally, an arrogant person will try to be much more imposing in the way they look. And sometimes it becomes a staring competition. I'm going to give you an intense gaze and see what I can do to actually put you off. Maybe they're doing the eye roll because who can be bothered with all of this? Yeah. Perhaps what they're doing is holding themselves in a way that's dominating the space. So even a small person can make themselves look much larger or fill up the space a whole lot more when they're wanting to dominate it. So a lot more imposing. The voice, our tone of voice, the way that we use our voice is 38% of our message. When we're confident, we're all about building up trust and connections. Perhaps we see other people as equals, so our voice isn't too loud, doesn't need to be loud. It's steady, it's clear, and it's not moving too quickly. It's open, it's full, we've got a lower pitch in our voice. So we're speaking deliberately and with purpose. We're speaking more assertively. We're bringing other people on the journey with us. And we pause when we're confident in order to allow others to catch up, in order to allow others to speak. Our tone of voice is that lower tone of voice. Because if we're talking up here, then we're coming across as being really nervous. If we're talking arrogantly, then often our voice is very flat and very directed at someone. So our dominating voice might be loud And it also might be at a bit of a higher pitch. I want you to go and do this and do it now. That kind of thing. Yeah. So much louder, that higher, very condescending at times, and a colder tone. You'll have noticed that in order for me to make that comment that I just made, I've got to have my pointing finger out. Yeah. When someone's arrogant, they're much more likely to be signaling really directly that this is what they want done and this is how they want it done. So um, they often, um, an arrogant person will often over explain a lot. So that because, let me say this differently, it's not a justification. So it's not over explaining to get you on board. It's over explaining because they want to be really sure that you understand that they think you need to have all of this explaining done to them because they're talking to you in a condescending way. So they're over explaining because they don't think you know, as opposed to wanting to bring you on their team. Often an arrogant person will interrupt all the time because they want their voice to be the main voice that's being heard here. Yeah. Now, what's really interesting is that when someone is very shy or someone is very quiet, one of the things, one of the ways that that can be misinterpreted is as arrogance. Well, they didn't seem to be saying anything. So, they seem to be really up themselves, which is an Aussie way of talking about arrogance. And so what we come to believe is that that person potentially is arrogant, where they're much more likely to simply be shy. Yeah. So that's your voice. So your tone of voice, that the way you're using your voice and your body language together will give you that sense of whether there's confidence or whether they're speaking from an arrogant perspective. It's often great to have a look at characters in shows, regular TV shows, ongoing shows, or in movies, because they will often accentuate that the traits of an arrogant person or of a confident person. So that can give you a really good idea of what to look out for. The next lens I want to look at this through is words. Now, this is about 7% of how our message is received. But as I've kept on saying here, it's about all three of these aspects coming together. So when we're confident, we're a lot more concise. What we're doing is we're making sure that we acknowledge others. We're talking about we. We're bringing people on a journey. Often it's motivating because we want to bring people on that journey with us. A confident person is also quite likely to ask for feedback. Ask for feedback that's going to be useful. Now, if you're watching this and you're unfamiliar with these leadershipizations, I did a great one a few weeks ago about asking for feedback that's going to be really helpful to you, particularly so that you can develop your leadership intelligence, but also so that you can help to grow your career and your career opportunities. So reach out if you would like us to send that through to you. It's quite motivating to be around someone who has a natural confidence, because they're able to laugh at themselves just as much as they will laugh at other people. They don't think they're perfect. As I said at the beginning of this session, they understand that they've got some strengths and some weaknesses. So they're choosing that kind of language that's based around we're in this together. Those people who are coming from an arrogant perspective Flip that over and it becomes all about I. It's all I did, I am, I did, I will, I got, I have. All of those I words, because if they see themselves as being the best, they think that they deserve all the accolades because I did this and I did that. So if we look very simply at a difference between the two, a confident person might say to the team, let's explore a number of options for doing this. Let's explore a number of options for doing this. Whereas an arrogant person is going to be saying, obviously, the right way to do this is, and they want it to be their way and not necessarily open to that perspective that others might bring to the table. Because, as I said, they're not really keen to ask others for help and they're not pushing the value of the relationships. They don't realize how much value having a really good relationship with their team can have. So let's put it all together then. Our confident person is relaxed. They're collaborative. They're open. They want to be engaging because they're all about building those relationships. They know that they don't know everything, so they're keen to bring other people on board, as opposed to that arrogant person who is perhaps quite imposing, who wants to do it all alone, who thinks that they're the best at everything, who thinks they have all the answers and they know everything, and who can be quite condescending because relationships aren't that important to them. Just that little reminder that sometimes that arrogance can be a mask for a lot of insecurity. Confident thrives on positive, healthy competition. Confident wants to be competing in a healthy way. Arrogance is all about winning at all costs. So if I'm going to walk over the top of people, that's okay because I am the best after all. Yep. As I said, not about those relationships. They're not so important. So here's a reflection for you. And this is something I'd really like you to think about. Remembering that we've got those three ways: the body language, our tone of voice or our voice, and the words that we use. Ask yourself this question on a regular basis. You might want to write it down. Do I leave people feeling seen, heard, and respected? Do I leave people feeling seen, heard, and respected? Because if you are leaving them feeling seen, heard, and respected, then you are likely relating to them with confidence. If you're not, you may well be leaning towards arrogance. Confidence builds those connections, whereas arrogance builds walls. What's really important is that you're intentional about building your confidence. And one of the ways that you can start to do that is by asking for feedback. Ask others for feedback about how they are perceiving you. You will get far more traction in your leadership and your career if you can continue to develop your confidence rather than coming across as arrogant. Okay, thanks so much for that. If you've got questions or comments, pop them in the platform that you're watching this on. If you're watching a replay, would love it if you would put hashtag replay. If you're wanting to build your confidence as a leader and as a communicator, reach out. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. Won't be a hard sell. I'll talk to you about a range of products that I have, a range of options that I have that will help you to build your influence and your confidence as a leader and a communicator. The link for a 30-minute call with me will be in the chat. Thanks so much. See you next week. Bye now.